Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And we actually have two people requesting this movie request, or specifically this movie series, as this week we are doing the Phantasm series, and starting with the 1979 film Phantasm. Here is your trivia question for today. What does Reggie do for work in the film? The answer will be at the end of this video. Our film starts off at the Morningside Mortuary, where two friends, Jody and Reggie, are visiting a friend who has unfortunately passed away. Mike, who happens to be Jody's brother and is practically stuck to him like glue ever since their parents passed away, has followed Jody to the funeral and is now spying on him. One of the things Mike notices while keeping himself hidden is once everyone else has left the funeral, the actual owner of the mortuary does not actually bury the body of Reggie and Jody's friend, but hauls it away. To make matters worse, Mike starts to see the tall man in his dreams. Mike tries to tell both Jody and Reggie about this, but neither one of them seems to really believe him. That is, at least until things get really strange. Things like severed fingers turning into demonic houseflies. Dwarf like henchmen seem to start showing up that work for the tall man, and also seem to have the faces of the dead, including the friend of both Reggie and Jody. Eventually, our trio does break back into the mortuary. It's here where things only get worse and more confusing. For instance, there's these silver spheres that fly through the hallways and have retractable blades that even go directly into your forehead, bore into it, and make all the blood spew out from your body. There's even some sort of weird gateway that leads back to wherever the tall man came from, either a different planet or some sort of different dimension. So, will our heroes, Mike, Jody, and Reggie, be able to save the day, or will the tall man be able to complete his nefarious deeds? The movie was written and directed by Don Coscarelli, although the reason that the movie was made was because Reggie Bannister came up to his friend Don Coscarelli and talked to him about possibly making a version of Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. Unfortunately, when they looked into it, the rights had already been sold to Walt Disney. So Coscarelli would loosely take the basis of that movie and add it to a dream he used to have in his late teens. In the dream, he was fleeing down a marble corridor, being pursued by chrome spheres with a long needle that was trying to penetrate his skull. He would also get the name Phantasm from the works of Edgar Allan Poe. The character of the tall man was actually specifically written with Angus Scrimm in mind. Bill Thornbury plays the character of Jody, but the role almost went to Gregory Harrison. It was actually Reggie Bannister and his wife Gigi who came up with the idea of the tuning fork and how the gate would work in the same way. The gate, by the way, is also supposed to be an homage to the movie 2001 A Space Odyssey from 1968. There are also a few references to the book Dune in this movie. The name of the bar is called Dune's Cantina, and when Mike meets with the fortune teller, he has to put his hand into a black box that inflicts pain as a test. Also, when speaking about books, on Mike's nightstand you can see the book My Name is Legion, which is a science fiction anthology book. The mansion which appears in this film has actually appeared in quite a few other movies, some of which are Burnt Offerings, A View to a Kill, and So I Married an Ex-Murderer. The way that they accomplish the flying spheres is by having a baseball pitcher throw the sphere from behind the camera, and then they would reverse the footage for the film. The idea of having the tall man's living severed finger came from Coscarelli punching his finger through a styrofoam cup and wiggling it about. It made it look as if it was moving on its own. Throughout the film, you can probably see quite a few Dos Equis bottles, as they actually had a promotion with that company. All of the dwarves in the film were actually played by children. For no reason whatsoever, Angus Scrimm's hair changes length throughout the film. One of the things Coscarelli is thankful for is that he never heard of, or at least was never aware of anyone trying to attempt the hammer and shotgun shell trick. The theme song for the film is actually played by the Hungarian metal band Tormentor. Speaking of metal bands, there's actually a piece of dialogue from this film, "The funeral is about to begin, sir," that the tall man says to Jody. This line of dialogue is actually used in 4 different metal band songs. Those bands are Marduk, The Ravenous, Mortician, and Splatterhouse. One more piece of music trivia about this film: Lemmy from Motorhead has stated that the song Ace of Spades was inspired by this film. He felt that Mike's head kind of looked like an ace of spades and just started snowballing from there. Someone else who happens to be another huge fan of this film is J.J. Abrams. He's actually been talking about trying to make a remake since 2005, possibly just continuing or maybe even doing a soft reboot. He's actually such a fan that when doing the new Star Wars series, he saw the outfit that Captain Phasma was going to wear and named her so because of the chrome suit reminding him of the sphere. One of the things I really like in this movie series is that they decided to have the blood be yellow. Not only did it make this series different, but it really made it their own thing. So when it comes to the film Phantasm, I really did enjoy the movie. I didn't think it was an amazing movie, and at times it definitely was a bit confusing, but it was very original. So I'm going to give this movie a 3 out of 5. Now, if you can't get enough of this movie, there's obviously the rest of the series, but there also are a few different comic books as well. And if you did like this movie, some other ones I do recommend looking at, as I feel that they're slightly similar, are House and From Beyond. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, what does Reggie do for work in the film? Reggie's day to day job before everything goes crazy is working as an ice cream man, which I find altogether more interesting due to the fact that he really becomes a badass in the rest of the series. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there is a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments.